Hey everybody, it's Jack with Now Swim, teaching you how to stop sinking and start swimming. So, my last few videos were really about getting rid of toxic people and leveling yourself up. Today, what I want to talk about is how to combat negative self talk, right? Because it's one thing to get rid of abusers from your life, and it's another to still carry those words of abuse with you. So I know for myself, I grew up in a really negative environment where I was constantly talked down to and made to feel really subhuman, to be honest with you. And it was a very difficult time in my life. So those words that were spoken to me came from people who were really supposed to shape who I would become later on in life. My family, kids in school, really just most people that I came in contact with up until I was much older in my life. And unfortunately, that really sucked. But because it was during such formative years, I have carried a lot of negative self talk with me over the years. But what I've come to realize is that those words are the baggage of other people, and I don't have to carry that around anymore. So at the time when I allowed these people to be in my life, I also accepted the words they said to be true. But when I stopped accepting those words as my truth and I stopped allowing these people to occupy my spaces, I was able to kind of cut that off, right? But then later on, I would sometimes find myself replaying those words, which I still do from time to time. So, one of the ways that I have come to combat that is to recognize when it's happening. So, when I feel myself, talking down to myself, or when I feel myself, just getting really frustrated or getting into like a negative headspace, then it's that's a signal for me that like there's probably a lot of negative self-talk going on. And so becoming aware of my thoughts has really helped in combating that negative self-talk. Some of that awareness has come from meditation, which I try to do regularly. Meditation, some yoga, things like that are really great and helpful in becoming mindful of what is happening right now in the present. Another way that I have found to combat that negative self-talk is to get out of thinking about the past. So this is something that happens, okay? Like our brains are going to replay these traumatic events, and our brains are going to replay events that have happened to us in the past because that is kind of the way that we process things, right? So when you find yourself having those thoughts of like really traumatic events or really negative times in your life, I have adopted this model that I've come to call bump the record. So for me, it's just kind of like an old record player that used to like sit on repeat, and it would just you'd have that like bump in the record that would just be like playing the same thing over and over and over again, and you'd have to kind of like bump the record player, and it would take it off of that little cycle that it was on, and it would just keep playing. So that's the same thing as like change the channel. So when you find yourself revisiting those moments that are horrible and hard to deal with, you take it in the bites that you need to take it in. That means if what you need is, you need to just kind of like sit with it for a minute and you need to experience this thing because you need that experience and that closure and that whatever, then you take that time to do that. But if you find yourself sitting with something for far too long, like for instance, me, sometimes, things trigger abuse for me. Christmas time, holidays are horrible. When I say all these sappy family things, it has been very triggering for me. And so I've had to learn that when I start getting into that mindset and thinking about all of the things I don't have or didn't have, will never have, all those terrible thoughts, that really pull me down, I have to say, nope, I'm going to change the channel, and literally like change the channel in my head and think of something very happy or positive. So if you're not sure of like happy or positive moments that you can recall that easily, I encourage you to sit down and make a list of your happiest moments. Maybe you make a list of all of the things that you have ever accomplished in your life, things that you are proud of, things that make you smile or make you laugh. Sometimes it can be music. So I'm going to tell you all a little secret. I have a slight obsession with Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA. Shh, don't tell anybody. That song for me is so silly and fun, and really like there's no like emotional attachment or stigma. There's nothing bad or negative about it. And like it just is fun. So for me, I have for years kept this on my playlist so that when I find myself feeling depressed or a little bit down, then I can just be like, boom, put this song on. It's going to immediately put a smile on my face. And it works. I mean, it just helps take me out of those negative spaces. I even went so far as programming my smart devices so that now I can just say, hey, whoever, Siri, Alexa, whatever, I need to pick me up. And then once I say that, boom, it starts playing Party in the USA, which is just so silly that it makes me laugh and it takes me out of those thoughts. And it's been super helpful. Another way for combating negative self-talk, this is something I encourage Heather to do quite often, is doing affirmations. So sitting down and here's the thing. It's very easy to get caught up in the negative self-talk and say, I hate myself, I don't like this, I don't like that, there's nothing good I can say. Here's the thing. There are good things you can say about yourself. You may not see them yet, and if that's a true issue for you, that you really can't come up with a single good thing about yourself to write down on a piece of paper, make a list of things that you want to be true about you. For instance, I am a good person. Okay, maybe you're not a good person, or you haven't really shown others that you are a good person, but your intentions are good and you really want to be perceived as a better person. Then by writing down that affirmation and saying, I am a good person, and keeping that as sort of like a mantra for yourself really gives you a chance. It gives you something to aim for, and it helps your higher self to kind of align you with that value, right? So you can adopt these values. It doesn't matter what you've been doing up until this point. I mean, it does, because, it's important that you're being a good person. But if you're sincere about making changes and you haven't been a good person, that is okay. Yeah, I said it. You don't have to have been a perfect person to become a great person. You could have made many mistakes in your life, but the thing is, if you're learning from those mistakes and you're applying those learnings to your life, then that is making you a better person, and before long, you will be the person that you want to be. So don't worry about how others see you or perceive you or whatever. It's all about how you see yourself. And if right now all you can see is that I'm a terrible, horrible person who's never going to amount to anything and all this other stuff, then it's really hard to convince others that you are this good person whose intentions are great and is doing good things for people. So you have to really start living those values. The first thing is to really put those values into your heart and your mind and give yourself something to focus on. Reaffirm the fact that you are a good person. Reaffirm the fact that you are smart. You are alive. Hey, look, you made it today. So that means you made it through a whole bunch of yesterdays in order to be here today and listening to me. So congratulations for that. At the very least, you can say, I have survived. Up until this very moment, I have survived, damn it. So at the very least, you have an accomplishment for your list. I made it through today. Seriously, if that is the only thing that you can call out that you have accomplished, kudos to you. Congratulations for accomplishing that. For the longest time, the only thing I could say that I had completed was rehab. Yeah, the last year of schooling that I was able to go from start to finish, like when I was a kid, was 8th grade. So I started ninth grade, didn't get to finish. Started 10th grade, didn't get to finish. Started 11th grade, didn't get to finish. 12th grade, same thing. In fact, I started and stopped school in so many different places, it just got pointless, so I dropped out. And it took me a really long time to get to a place where, I had things that I had accomplished and I was proud of. So when the internet really took off and I started finding my way through like some of these professional sites, I would take these little free classes and I was so proud of my accomplishments just for finishing like an online course. And maybe it was something that only took an hour, but damn it was something more that I could add to my list of accomplishments that was more than rehab. But you know what? I also had to get to a point where I became proud of myself for being able to say, hey, I made it to and through rehab. And it wasn't even that I was chemically dependent on anything. It was that my mindset was really falling in line with other people who were addicts, and the people that I was around, they were addicts. And I knew that it wasn't long before I became that way. So I put myself in rehab as a preventative measure. And you know what? I'm so proud of myself for doing that. For a long time, I was ashamed of it because it meant that I had a problem, or it meant that I was not, for me, I felt like it was something negative. And it really took a lot for me to learn that it wasn't negative. It was actually a really positive experience. So yes, I accomplished all of that. And now I have a list of accomplishments. I have since then gotten a degree. I've gotten a certification. I have done a tremendous amount of things that I can now add to my list of accomplishments. Having a list of accomplishments that you can go back to the next time your brain tells you that you haven't accomplished anything, or that you're never going to do this thing, is a great resource to pull from. And one other way that you can combat that negative self-talk is to recognize when you are constantly using those types of words like always, forever, never. Those words are not typically true. Like for anybody to say, I have never accomplished a single thing in my life, is typically not true, right? Because like I said, you woke up today, you got up, you got out of bed, hopefully, if you're able to. And if you didn't, that's okay. You still woke up and you are here. You are breathing. You have made it another day. That in itself is an accomplishment. There are a lot of people who are not here today that wish they were. So pat yourself on the back every chance you get and be your biggest cheerleader, especially if you don't feel like you have anybody else. That doesn't mean that you don't deserve yourself, right? So if other people can't see your value, that's their problem. You have to be the one to cheer yourself on, to pat yourself on the back, to polish yourself up, and to reach your own dreams. So with that, I thank you so much for watching another video on Now Swim. Please feel free to subscribe down below. You can also share this video with your friends and encourage them to subscribe as well. We will be making videos as often as possible. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.